Good morning and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. I'm Tim. Today we've got a top 5 woody ornamentals with our good friend Eric Shealy of the Riverbanks Zoo. So smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed here on the Mr. Maple Show. And guys, always remember you can subscribe to our weekly emails on MrMaple.com. Eric, how long have you known us?
I don't know. I know. Y'all go back to when you were doing the Farmers Market Spring Festival, and I didn't meet you first. Of course, I met your mom, who has nothing but good things to say about you.
Maple Mama is the best advertiser.
Maple Mama is like your hype girl. I love her.
And many of y'all may know her on Facebook, but if you're at a garden show, she will go out into the aisle, bring people in, and then start telling them how great her sons are, which are me and my brother.
Yes.
It's a little embarrassing, but you know how mothers are.
It's not, though, because she's just like pure energy. It's like you don't have time to react. She gets you. She is your hype girl. I mean, she's perfect.
Our mother is our hype girl for sure. She's the hype train at Mr. Maple, always has and always will be our mom. Our mom's one of our biggest supporters. So what got you into horticulture?
So what got me into horticulture, at an early age, my grandfather got me into vegetable gardening, and that stemmed to me growing other stuff in his garden, including perennials, and then it, of course, got me into trees and shrubs and stuff like that. Went to Clemson, did the horticulture thing, got out, and landed here at Riverbanks.
Nice, nice. So what would you say your day-to-day here at the Riverbanks Zoo, the gardens at the Riverbanks Zoo, typically entails?
So I'm the greenhouse production manager, nursery manager here. I'm the only one that does what I do. I have a team of volunteers that help me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My typical day is kind of getting my day organized, then going out and checking for water, morning check, and then do some more production, and then afternoon production, water, go home. So water. A lot of production in the spring. We're standing in the middle of the greenhouse right now, and this greenhouse is going to finish off in probably 2 to 3 weeks. So this is kind of mid for us. We'll get it probably completely empty by April 15th.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my typical day right now.
At these garden shows, we'd always say, "Oh, here comes the zoo."
Yeah.
And Eric and Andy and Melody and everybody would be coming down, just looking through. They'd be picking up some Japanese maples, but also cool woody ornamentals.
Yes.
And you've gotten a number of cool woody ornamentals from us throughout the years.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and start out with your number 5 woody ornamental you've gotten from us.
So I actually recently got this small tree. It's a Cyrex Evening Lights.
What do you like about Evening Lights?
Beautiful foliage, dark foliage, bright white flowers, but you know, Cyrex sometimes they can look very ethereal. This is like, it packs a punch. Even down here, we have to put it in some shade because it will burn a little bit. But even in the shade, that foliage shines a little bit, and the flowers, when it blooms, it's like something that's, you know, it's like you're putting a white flower on a very, very dark background. So it's like the contrast is just perfect.
I mean, what Evening Lights can do for a Japanese snowbell is it gives you an upright tree. It gives you that dark foliage out there in the garden. And that dark foliage contrasts so well with so many other plants. But it contrasts well with itself, especially when it blooms. It's got those fragrant white bell-shaped flowers that just droop downward. And it just gives that tree that extra it factor.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Japanese maples that have red foliage, but there's not a lot of other red foliage trees, small trees. And Cyrex Evening Lights can do that and give you something that's both blooming and that darker foliage out there in the landscape.
And I have to say, like, what I really like about y'all's nursery is that you can buy it in a gallon. You don't have to wait for it to be like a 3-gallon to actually get the plant. And what I do at home, especially down here, our summers are really rough on stuff. So I will put it in a container, a mixed container on the back porch or something like that. Or, you know, just dot it around the yard. That gives that plant a good, healthy start and gets it adjusted to our heat and high humidity. So I have like a 3 or 5 or 7-gallon plant to go in the ground, and it's like instantaneous gratification.
Hey, heck yeah. So your number 4 woody ornamental that you've gotten from us at Mr. Maple.
4, this actually has a really good story because this was from the farmers market days, and me and a coworker saw this plant, and she bought one for here. So we actually have one in our collection here that we love, but mine does better at the house because I sided it better, and it's the Shermans Nordli Metasequoia Dawn Redwood. It flushes white. It's an deciduous conifer. I mean, it's just cool. I love deciduous conifers because they're unexpected. People don't use them in the landscape very often, especially in my neighborhood. I live in a very old neighborhood the plants are very established, and so people, when they see that white foliage, and I used it as an anchor plant in the foundation planting, they are like, what the heck is that? You know, and they see it from the road, man. It's great.
I love Dawn Redwoods because they can take your garden and you can put something ornamental, not just in your dry spot, but you can also put something ornamental in your wet spot.
Absolutely.
If you've got a wetter spot in the garden,
Yep.
Shermans Nordli can handle that.
Yes, yes.
And it can give you an ornamental appeal out there, but it can also handle some of the drier spots as long as you water it well.
Yeah, mine is actually in the downspout area, so it loves it there. It absolutely loves it.
And Shermans Nordli was found as a witch's broom on the cultivar Metasequoia glyptoschiboides white spot by a guy named Sherman and in Germany, and then eventually got through the nursery trade
Yep.
and became Shermans Nordli, sometimes known as North Light or Northern Light. It will lighten up those small places in the garden, and it is one of the slower growing Dawn Redwoods, so you can fit a Dawn Redwood in the smaller landscape. Everyone's landscape shrinking. Shermans Nordli allows you to enjoy a Dawn Redwood in your landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
So-
that one, it would not have worked if I had a full-size Dawn Redwood growing 10 feet away from my house.
That's for sure. So now we're down to your number 3 woody ornamental.
So number 3, Ginko Saratoga, which I got from you on the same date, I got that plant. Now that plant is about 8 feet wide, probably about 6 feet tall, lovely dwarf ginkgo. I'm kind of a ginkgo nerd. It's the only reason why I would join the American Conifer Society, sadly enough. Like, the variety that y'all have is unparalleled, I think. It's so great to see a nursery doing that. But this one in particular, it has those downturned leaves. And you know, ginkgo has that little notch in the in the fan of the flower. This one has a full-on like V down, and so all of my neighbors said, "Oh, you need to water that tree. You need to water that tree." I was like, "No, it's doing its thing. It's weeping. It's supposed to be naturally weeping." Yeah.
Well, that Saratoga is one of those plants that can give you, I mean, it's a selection from the Saratoga Horticulture Research Station in
Yep.
California. Extremely heat tolerant. It's a ginkgo that if you staked it up could turn into an upright tree, but it's not a fast growing tree.
That's one of the ones that I put in a pot, and
Yeah.
it did mind getting a little dry in there. Yeah.
And salt tolerant, pollution tolerant, heat tolerant. But
I had it
ginkgos-
out by the road.
Yeah, ginkgos, they're so hardy.
Yes.
And they're on the fossil record from the dinosaurs. So this is like something a dinosaur possibly munched on back in the day.
They're a monotypic genus. There is only one genus in that, or one species in that genus. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. They are their only thing. Yeah.
Ginkgos are that cool plant that can give you that fossil-like feel out there in the landscape.
Yep.
And it's something kids will always remember too, because it's just something unique and special about a ginkgo. And when you see
Absolutely.
one in yellow fall color,
Oh my
it's
God.
exquisite.
Oh, if anybody really wants to see like good ginkgo color in Columbia, South Carolina, the State House grounds. Go to the State House in Columbia in October, late October, early November. Holy crap, it's good. Like, and that's in the heat. Like, that is between buildings, people, and that's good color right on the road. I mean,
Hey,
whatever.
the heat of South Carolina, the signs used to say by the interstate, the new hot spot.
We're the famously hot,
Yeah.
famously hot city.
I mean, it's hot, it's got concrete everywhere, and it is hot.
Yeah,
And ginkgo's thriving down here.
Yep.
That's pretty
it
spectacular.
is spectacular.
So we're down to your number 2 woody ornamental. What do you got?
So I actually saw this plant for the first time at Atlanta Botanical Gardens Gainesville campus, which is spectacular. If no one has ever visited it, please go and see that place. It's wonderful. It's new. It's newer than Atlanta Botanical, but it's Parodia Sub Aqualis. I don't honestly know the common name for that one, but
It's a type of ironwood.
it is.
The Parodia Sub Aqualis, I mean, what would you call it? The best fall color ironwood? I mean, if you gave it a common name?
It's just like wet your pants good fall color. I mean, if you want a plant that just goes completely burgundy and just kind of shows off, it is the plant, man. And it's extremely tough in the landscape. Like that thing, I mean, the wood's tough. It doesn't break up. they're kind of, I mean, for the most of their life, they're very straight up and down. They're just like, but they will round themselves out a little bit. They're very ethereal. The bark is very smooth and nice, so you get a very high contrast between a very burgundy leaf and a gray bark, which is, I mean, I don't think you can ask for more other than a flower, which we all know the Parodia flowers are not that great, but you know what? I will take the win on everything else.
I mean, you get a bark interest tree with Parodia.
Yeah.
I mean, most people are familiar with Parodia persica, and you get a very similar bark on a Parodia Sub Aqualis.
Yeah.
The bark is amazing. Adds a good winter interest out there in the landscape. And the problem with Parodia persica is you never really get as good a fall color. But Parodia Sub Aqualis, I mean, it's electric every single season. Yeah. I mean, just fiery reds, the burgundies. I mean, it's one of the best fall color plants in the landscape. Competes with Japanese maples for fall color.
Yeah.
On a Parodia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hands down, an amazing tree. You should definitely be trying.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say enough good things about that.
So we're down to your number one woody ornamental. What do you got?
So my number one, only because I am a Ginko nut, I love that Gko Grindstone, the Fastigate one. It's just a straight up and down. I mean, people don't use enough Fastigate plants, in my opinion. And everybody knows Italian cypress, everybody knows that pencil holly. But if you have the option to grow a deciduous Fastigate plant, I think that this is definitely my number one candidate for that. I have some others, but this is, you get that Ginko color, you get straight up and down. So if you have a small yard or even just you just want more trees, which I'm always a fan of, less watering, that kind of thing, tag these things in. Make an alley of them. That would be fantastic. Well, call me so I can photograph that.
So my wife and I, a few years ago during COVID, went up to the Newark, Ohio to the Dawes Arboretum. And we made a lot of Ginko pit stops along the way. One of them was the Fly exit in Fly, Ohio.
Oh, that's right.
And it is...
Your brother told me that.
Yeah, it is actually this rest stop area where there's multiple fastigiate Ginkgos. And the original Gko Grindstone was selected off of some of those fastigiate Ginkgos.
That's the cool thing about plants, man. You have these great stories behind them,
and being able to go there and see these fastigiate Ginkgos and walk around and look and see how narrow they were. It's like you're just looking at them and they're old. I mean, these things are 50 plus years old in the landscape. To be able to appreciate that size, the shape. I mean, that's when I really started realizing how special Grindstone was. From seeing these old specimens, and they're really narrow.
And they're tight. Yeah, they're real tight.
Now, if anyone is into production of Ginkgos, I always recommend producing upright Ginkgos from the more terminal growth, more of that upright growth. If you're grafting them from the side shoots, Ginkgos are one of these prehistoric creatures. Their hormones that go sideways may continue to have a more sideways growing plant, where something like grafting from the terminal buds of Gko Grindstone will cause a plant that grows more upward. So something to always keep in mind there. But Grindstone fits in that narrow space, gives you that yellow fall color you love with Ginkgos.
It is.
And being a Ginko nut, I totally understand that being your number one woody ornamental.
Honestly, it's awesome.
Eric, I appreciate you jumping in today.
Oh, you're welcome.
For his top 5 woody ornamentals, that he's got all these from Mr. Maple in the past. Guys, if you hadn't been down here to the Riverbanks Zoo and Gardens,
please come
check them out. The springtime's a phenomenal time. The summer's a great time. Heck, they've got good plantings in the fall and the winter. So anytime you get a chance to come visit the Riverbanks Zoo and Gardens, make it over to the gardens especially. Kids will love the zoo, but the gardens are spectacular. Take care, God bless, and have a great day.